a service. And you know, I only have good news. I don't know if that's just me or is that actually the reality as such. Well, it's a little bit of both, right? Okay, so today I'm going to talk about the DXY because I have so many thoughts about the DXY that I literally need to basically dedicate an entire video to it. But of course, it's going to lead us into looking at the opposite reflection inversions, right? So this is the whole point. But we're going to take it first from the angle of the DXY. So the first thing you notice on this chart, which goes back to the 60s, all-time high in this past half century, 70 years or whatever it is, 1985. That's the all-time high on the DXY, all-time high. Ooh, it's got to be interesting that the NASDAQ all-time low is also in 1985. If this chart goes back to 1971, this is what it looks like. The NASDAQ had its initial offering and then it had a dip, and the bottom of the NASDAQ was right here in 1985. Same year is the top of the US dollar currency against a basket of other currencies. Okay, so obviously you can see this thing has really only gone down in the whole time that the NASDAQ has gone up, right? So we see that very clearly. Now, let's just do a basic technical analysis on the DXY and start from the most basic level. Just understand that all techniques are self-fulfilling prophecies, so you should use as many techniques as possible, but still keep it basic, still keep it kindergarten. You know what I'm saying? Look at this basic kindergarten trend line. So you can already see that like this is a significant move, right? What happened in 2015 is significant. That broke out of this major key trend line. So because that happened, then I'm inclined to apply an ABC correction from here, right? So maybe just something like this. And I'm being so basic, so you could really aspect this in a lot of different ways. But let's just go with that for now. And let's see if this is the bottom of your C heart wrencher, and that C heart wrench didn't wrench too bad, right? So what am I saying? I'm implying, well, ultimately, maybe it could be a bigger wrencher later. But let's just pretend for now that that's the bottom of this move, this downward move, this three-wave downward move, ABC correction. Now you're starting an up move. And because it broke out of this key trend line, you know, I wouldn't be surprised to see it break above this level at some point, right? So I wouldn't be surprised to see this uptrend potentially responding currently to this swing high, to this swing low. You know where I'm going with this. I'm going to my Fibonacci's because we got to get some good corroboration on here. So if I'm measuring from the top of B down to C, and I think that this is now your uptrend potentially because of this trend line breakout, then what's the first thing you notice? We see that the DXY has not actually reached up to the 702 level based on this high, right? So a place where you would expect to see a lot of selling pressure, a very high probability of a reversal coming in, would be the 702 level. So that implies something about this wave up. What could we say about that wave up? Well, if it's moving up, we're going to count it in 5 waves. Key understanding of Elliott waves is they move in eights. Eights, right? You have 5-3 ratio within 8. So for every 5 waves in one direction, you have 3 waves in the other. Those go up and down, equal and opposites. So if I'm saying that this is an ABC correction in a 3-wave move, then I'm going to start looking at this in 5-wave moves instead of 3-wave moves. You see what I'm saying? And I can look at 3-wave moves going up, going down, doesn't matter, but I am choosing to look at this in a 5-wave move up because I'm seeing that this is a 3-wave move down, right? Okay, so if I look at it that way and I count for, let's just do the basic, most basic count. Yeah, that's probably a wave 1, right? Why not? And why wouldn't wave 1 end around that 702? Why not? I mean, probably a high statistical probability. Doesn't mean you don't have levels that you're going to hit up later, but where could that wave 2 hit? I don't know, somewhere around here maybe, something possibly, right? Are we getting something like this, right? Are we getting something like this in the DXY, potentially, right? Maybe, just maybe we are. I'm not even talking about the gravity of this peak. That's a whole separate conversation, which I'm not choosing to get into today. Maybe I'll get into another day if it proves relevant. But I think the most relevant thing to look at here is that the DXY is about to come up to a major point of resistance. And we can see that it's playing right within this Fibonacci structure too. It's acknowledged the 618 down to the 382. Like, it stayed in this range. It's breaking out of this range. Let's see if it plays by our secret 702 Fibonacci level. And guess what? It's not a secret, right? It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Everybody knows it. That's the point. And let's just talk about the fundamental argument. I mean, let's go. Seriously, I haven't even talked nearly enough about the idea of, like, how is the dollar still going up if there's so much inflation? If there's so much inflation, the cost of everything goes up. How can the dollar keep also going up, right? That's really weird. Now, there's so many theories on this, but here's the basic one. Staking rewards, right? That's my favorite theory, right? Because think about cryptos. You get staking rewards like, oh, lock up your Ethereum for 10 years and get paid to do it, right? So don't you think that the Federal Reserve gives out the US dollars to, Rockefeller Jr., right? And they're like, here, hold like $100 billion and we'll pay you $100 million a year to hold those. And thanks. You know what I mean? That's what they do. And so that's how they keep this thing pumping up too, right? They lock up the supply. And it's working. Their trickery is working. They broke out of a key trend line here. I do think you had that 3-wave down ratio. Now you're setting up a 5-wave up ratio. So you look for upside in these down moves in the DXY. But yeah, these American psychopaths, they're going to pump their currency, man. They're going to try to beat Bitcoin. They're going to try to beat cryptos. They're going to try to dominate currencies. This is a battle of hegemony. And the charts tell that they might get pretty far with that agenda. They could get pretty far with that agenda, but ultimately they'll probably lose because the dollar is arbitrary. Empires don't last this long. But this empire, I hate to admit it, they might have a good few more decades, honestly, maybe like 2 more decades, where they literally get to control the whole, global economy because so many people have backed their currencies and their assets with US dollars. And then the Americans keep handing out US dollars to the rich oligarchs like it's candy, and they say, here, just hold these. Yeah, can you just hold these for us? Like, don't spend them too much, just like hold them, and we'll actually pay you money to hold them. And if you don't hold them, we'll also come and mess up your entire economy and start all kinds of wars and stuff. So better just take our dollars and lock them up so we can create these trend line breakouts on the DXY chart, right? But even these trend line breakouts still result in waves. We always move in waves. We are setting up a perfect 702 reversal structure, a beautiful confluence for wave 2 down. I mean, it's not hard to see that when you zoom out on this massive macro chart. All right, so considering that it's easy to acknowledge that there's a high probability that the US dollar is about to come up to some resistance here to initiate a wave 2 within an overall uptrend, right? A strong uptrend. You're going to have to get a pullback in that uptrend. So look at where this pullback aligns to with the inverse leverage system. This exact move to the upside right here on the NASDAQ and all of tech, crypto's all in there. Basically, this is your index for like technology, like financial technology. That is the thesis. The thesis is that finance and technology are about to blend together, right? That's the key understanding here. So NASDAQ is telling us sort of the direction of the economy, which is now integrating with technology. So it would make sense that your wave 5 up would be coming at the time that your DXY is about to start this wave 2 down, right? This perfect inversion, right? And you have, look how strong this uptrend has been right here. This is super, this is an incredibly powerful upswing for the US dollar. You can only expect that you're running out of headroom. And let's see what the RSI tells us. I don't put too much stock in any one thing, but sometimes it's interesting just to remind myself. Yeah, it's pretty obvious that you have bearish divergence, right? We already talked about bearish divergence. You have incredibly bearish divergence on this uptrend. It's getting weaker the higher it goes, and then we corroborate that with Fibonacci. We're coming up against the 702, And we know that that's a reversal point, a point at which there's a high probability of a reversal. When you have a strong move in one direction, you're going to get the reflection of it in the other direction. And the reflection of this is going to move in 3 waves as well, right? So you got waves within the waves. We already know this. But you do have potentially an extended down move on the US dollar coming up, an extended down move. And that would specifically correlate to an extended up move on equities and on cryptos. So, in this moment that everyone is so horrified and so bearish, that's just another check in the box of you should be buying right now. You don't know exactly where the bottom is. You sure know that a basic understanding of all of these inversions implies that an uptrend here is likely to come to an end very soon because it's running out of room, it's running out of speed, it's running out of momentum after a very impulsive, strong move. It needs to have a reflection of that in the other direction. That reflection will show up inversely to other markets like the cryptocurrency market and the equities market, obviously. So potentially you've had your 3 swings low. I mean, you could look at this on a very basic level too. Anybody could aspect this in a lot of different ways, but I mean, you're basically looking at an ABC correction here. But we know that the A and the B leg give us that Fibonacci, that inverse 1618. And Bitcoin hasn't reached that inverse 1.618. So you have a strong case for there being a moment where you do have a move down to 23,000. But I don't know if it would be like a slow move or a fast move or a move at all. And the more that I look at the equity markets, the more I see an argument for you don't have a lot farther to go down. And these cryptos are moving in lockstep with the equity markets. I don't see a strong case for a lot more downside. And then let's zoom into the altcoin situation. I mean, like, what's going on with this? What's going on with TRB right now? Like, breaking out of key resistance, and let's see if it's going to break out here too. If Bitcoin's going to go down, it's still going to be moving in waves, and every wave up that Bitcoin is doing is correlating to moves up in something like TRB, also in the other Oracle coins. Notice Link was up on Bitcoin. They're setting higher lows potentially. We don't know that yet, but it does seem like there is a potential where, Band sets a higher low, Link sets a higher low. We saw Link pumping. We saw TRB massively pumping. You know what I mean? TRB is way off of its low now. So that is a pretty optimistic sign where you have altcoins that are potentially setting higher lows, indicating a strong reversal, even though Bitcoin looks like it could keep going down. You know what I mean? Like, so this is interesting. Like, the market is it's kind of being very tricky right now because Bitcoin is moving down, but a number of altcoins, more than a few altcoins, have moved up significantly and set up trend reversal structures. And let's see if those follow through. I mean, this will be an interesting week. And we have big news coming, FOMC meeting this week. So that's going to spark this thing and the other thing. Most people think it's going to go spark like a cannon to the downside. But if most people think that, then it'll probably start a cannon to the upside. Most likely it won't even have that big an effect. That's what I think. I think something bigger is brewing. I think the FOMC meeting won't be like some big revelation. It'll be more like basic Jerome Powell saying yeah, we're going to just raise by another, 0.5. That's all. That's all he's going to say. Something that simple. And then the markets will react sort of barely for a day. And they'll continue what they're doing right now. They got killed on Friday, but that just means that anything that is gaining relative to Bitcoin or it's gaining relative to NASDAQ, any asset that's gaining relative to these larger cap assets that are moving in the lower direction, that's very optimistic. I mean, TRB is literally just ripping through coin market cap right now. It was 690 a week ago. You know what I mean? Now it's in the 400s. I mean, this is what I'm saying. You got mad headroom on these things, and these things can rip ballistically on the waves of these larger cap assets moving up and down. And it's no coincidence that we're seeing the 3 Oracle coins, TRB, Band, and Link, all pumping pretty impressively when Bitcoin is just struggling. Ethereum getting slaughtered. These guys are getting slaughtered. But we're starting to see some altcoins gain momentum relative to that slaughtering. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not particularly bearish. Like, I was buying all these depths of despairs, not questioning if I'm going to have to buy more later. I might have to. I don't even... It's, you know me, you know my strategies. So it's just basic. I'm super basic. I'm anchored to the ultimate thesis of finance and technology coming together. Crypto is the bridge between those things. And why is the dollar pumping? The dollar is pumping because of staking rewards. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. Good.
This is the time when your life could take on a different level of propulsion. If you have prepared yourself well, either with education or some skill or yoga or any of these things, that is the time when it can propel.
Flying away from complacency, and